the title of this workshop is Fixing Awkward Event Transitions. That's what this is about. And so I'm really excited about today because this is about 10 years collectively worth of work between myself and the entire Elevate team, and really beyond that, because a lot of us have more experience. Number one is I wanted to say welcome. We're so glad that you're here. And again, I know that your time is busy, and so we're going to make this worth your time because of everything that we're going to share with you here today. Now, number two is a little bit about myself. So my name is Sean Specie. This is a picture of myself at a conference just from last week. This was an internal event for a company called America's Thrift Stores. And at America's Thrift Stores, they really value company culture. And so being company culture, a lot of the best companies that we've worked with, they really enjoy bringing their people together, inspiring them, motivating them, pouring into them. And so that's something that we love to help people do. And really why we got brought into that event is they have about 20 to 30 people putting together their conferences every single year. But what they needed help with was exactly what I'm going to teach you here today, which is fixing those event transitions, making it feel seamless, making it feel smooth, making it feel like a cohesive process. And so a little bit about who we are as a company. So this is our company logo, and these are some of the partners that we get to work with. So you can see Delta, Coca-Cola, ETA, the University of Georgia, University of Auburn, Chick-fil-A, Honda Motors, Arby's Foundation, Atlanta Public Schools. And at Elevate, we really believe this is that great experiences are made up of intentional moments that matter. And it is in these moments that ideas are formed and cultures are changed. And so our mission as a company is we want to equip you and walk away because we want to eliminate the plague of boring events. And so that's partly what this workshop is for, is to equip people like yourself to be able to know, like, hey, how can I eliminate the awkward transitions so that we don't have a boring event, right? And so, but like, we are on Zoom, you are able to turn your microphone on, you are able to turn on your camera. So feel free to jump in and ask questions. Of course, I can see the chat. I see that we've got Pia from Boston. And if I mispronounce your name, by the way, my last name is Specie. So I have heard pretty much everything under the sun as far as how to mispronounce Specie. But for today's workshop, this is the phrase that kind of came to mind, the thought process of why we wanted to teach this, because it's hard to have intentional moments and change company cultures, maybe change your local culture, maybe change the culture of your nonprofit, but it's hard to do that with awkward events. And so one of the things that we can do here today is we can work through, hey, what are these awkward moments at events so that we don't have those awkward events? And so here's my big promise. This is my big promise for you, is we're going to teach you how to fix those awkward transitions. And here's some of the things that we're going to be talking through. This is the agenda. So we're going to talk through ways that events, the transitions, can be awkward and how to fix them. I'm going to give you a 5-step process for preparing someone to lead your event so that they are equipped, so that they can smooth out the transitions. I'm going to give time for questions at the end. And we are also going to, sorry, I don't know why that popped up in reverse, but we're going to give you the 5 types of transitions at the events. So who's going to benefit from this workshop? Number 1 is if you're a corporate event planner. Number 2 is if you're an executive assistant, if you're a manager, if you're a director of marketing, really anyone that's planning an event. Those first 4 categories, maybe you're someone who you're doing other things in your day-to-day business, and event planning is not in your job description. It's not even in your job title. But what you are trying to do is, it's almost like an event planning is your event production, event planning, putting on an event for your organization is a side hustle. And so here's the outcomes that we hope that you get from this workshop, is that you learn how to smooth out the awkward moments, that you ensure your event attendees receive the instructions that they need, and that you can build your confidence as the event planner. Again, even if you're not event planner in the job description, and even if you're not going to be the person on stage, because maybe you're getting information so that you can give it to the CEO or the VP of marketing or the head of sales that's going to be on stage that can help be that person or be the representative for the event. Or if you're looking to hire someone like ourselves who provides MCs for your event. So at the end of this, I'm just going to put it out there. We're going to give you an offer. Number one is a free 30-minute consultation, and then number two is an invitation to our community. We have a community that we are growing from. It's a kind of a grassroots community, but it's people that are like-minded that are looking to elevate their brand, elevate their leadership, elevate their events. And so it is the Elevate community. And we're going to invite you to that at the end of today. And our gift for you is we hope to gift you peace of mind. We want you to be able to step in full confidence and say, you know what? That was helpful. And now I've got this. So without further ado, let's dive into the first thing on the agenda, which is the 5 types of event transitions. 5 types of event transitions. So the first type of event transition is the person to person. And so if you imagine this, imagine there's a keynote speaker. This is a gentleman by the name of Josh Sundquist. He was on stage giving a keynote talk, and then Billy was the MC. Well, Billy had to introduce a video, and then Josh came out after that video. And then when Josh was done, Josh basically said, thank you to everyone. Billy came up, gave him a knuckle bump, asked the audience to give him a round of applause. And so when Josh was wrapping up his keynote talk, the transition was what was happening afterwards. Well, that was straight to Billy as the MC of this event. And so then Billy came up and basically took over from it. And by the way, what we are doing in the second part of this workshop is we're going through these exact same ones, hey, person to person, and the next ones. And I'm going to tell you how they can be awkward and then how to fix them. But first, we have to know what they are. So the next one is person to video. Now, I just mentioned that right before Josh was on stage, that keynote speaker, there was a video that played, right? Well, the video that played then ended, and then it went straight to Josh as the keynote speaker. So, but before that, what happened is Billy was on stage as the MC, and Billy said, hey, we've got an amazing keynote speaker for you coming up. Check out this video. So it was Billy on stage, and then there was a video ready to play. And this is a picture of that exact same event behind the scenes. And this is what we called Video Land. It was kind of fun setting up. I've never heard of Video Land before or even used that title, but it was really fun to see the production team that we partnered with to put on this event and that we led. And they said, hey, you know what? This is going to be Video Land. It's just kind of a fun name for it. So Video Land was behind the scenes, making sure that each video was ready to go and was able to play. And if you kind of, if you see this picture, you can see there's multiple cameras, multiple computers, and there were some that were preloaded with videos. So the next one is person to video. So person to video would be that same transition going back to the example with Josh coming on stage is, hey, there's a video playing and then there's a person on stage, or there's a video playing and then there's a person on screen just like I would be. So video to person is another transition that we need to be aware of and to make sure it's really smooth. The next one is person to activity. Person to activity. So this is from an event that we just recently did where this is a nonprofit and they are called Team NEGU, which means never give up. And when what they did is they prepared and they helped us with the attendees basically pack these jars full of toys for children that were staying in long-term cancer wards within hospitals really around the world. And so then what afterwards, after they gave the instructions, after the woman that you saw before this gave the instructions, then we sent everyone outside where we had a team ready and waiting and we had all the supplies ready. Well, that person has to have the clear instructions to be able to say, okay, here's what's happening. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to go outside and you're going to see this. Well, sometimes it's moving an audience from one place to another, or this picture is actually in a moment at an event that we just completed. And he was on stage, he brought other people on stage, and he was doing an activity with everybody that was in the room. So sometimes that person to activity transition is not necessarily like, hey, let's go outside and do this thing. Sometimes it's, hey, this is what we're going to do right here in the room. And what he did is he had our asked for our team to help him set out candles underneath every single seat. And here you can see that then all of a sudden the lights went dark and they turned on their candles. It was a really, really cool moment. So that is the fourth one. And then the fifth and final one that I have for you here today is from person to a break. So, person to a break. Well, this is a slightly different transition from going from person to activity because a person to a break, well, not only that, you have to make sure that you give clear instructions so that when you're ready to come back from the event or come back from the break, your group is ready to go. And this is a picture from an event where we sent everyone to break, and you can see that everything was set out and ready for them. And then off to the side, I don't have a picture of it quite here, but off to the side right over here was like a table where they could come through and grab a snack and then come out and sit here. But you have to know that, hey, what do I need at the break location and what is happening at the break location, and then is what is happening after the break location. So here's the 5 transitions. And again, hey, if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself, turn on video, or drop it in chat. And now what we get to do is we're going to go into each one of these a little bit deeper. And I'm going to talk through a couple of stories and examples and ways that these can be awkward and how to fix them. So let's start with the first one right here, which is from person to person. So the ways that this transition can be awkward is if there's a person on stage, you see the figurine of the woman on the left, and then you have the figurine of the man on the right. Well, if that woman is introducing that man, but she so so who's coming up next? Who is that? And I know that I'm getting the connection unstable, so feel free to drop in chat that if I go out, I can pause here for a minute. But that it's a pretty awkward time, right? If someone's up there and you don't know what's happening next. Well, the other way that this can be awkward is if you're leaving the stage empty, right? If all of a sudden, if all of a sudden I come back on camera and we're like, hey, where is that person? Oh, wait, I'm supposed to be in screen, right? You're leaving the stage or leaving the screen empty, it can be awkward. If someone if you're on stage and you introduce the next person, or maybe it's someone else, they introduce the next person, they leave, and the other person's at the back of the room, you're sitting there staring at an empty stage, right? That can be pretty awkward. So here's how to fix both of those. Number one is you should be one step ahead with your event planning and with your event team. So one step ahead. The next one is to wait in the wings. Okay, wait in the wings. And a couple of these I try to make them rhyme so that it's easier to remember. So be one step ahead and wait in the wings. Let's talk about those. Well, remember this picture that I showed you with Josh ready for Billy? Well, Billy was one step ahead of what was happening because behind the scenes, literally right behind where Josh is standing backstage, there was a spot where we had a table, we had the agenda, we had note cards, we had a screen where we could see on stage. And so what Billy was doing while Josh was giving his keynote talk is he was half listening so that he could connect it to it as an MC, but then also he was getting ready for what was happening, the very next thing he was about to do when he was on stage when Josh was done, and then what was happening after that. So he was really almost 2 steps ahead. And then wait in the wings. What does that mean? Well, this is a picture, and you can see where I'm on stage right behind. This is Adobe on stage. And off to the side, you can see a picture where I'm on stage ready with music cues. And then really right behind me, there's a set of stairs there. And so myself, Billy, the other keynote speakers, waiting in the wings. If you've ever heard of like in basketball, going down the wings is going down the sides of the court. And so if you're waiting in the wings, you're basically waiting for someone to pass you the ball so that you can step up and take a shot, but you're waiting off to the side. Well, waiting in the wings is doing the exact same thing, but for your event. So if Adobe's on stage and Billy's coming out next, Billy's going to be literally like right behind where I was on stage or off to the other side, on the other side where there might be another set of stairs, and you're ready to go. So that's how you can fix the awkwardness of, wait, what? Like who comes up next? Well, be one step ahead. And then number 2 is if you're waiting in the wings, ready to take over from someone else, so again, going back to if someone's coming up from the back of the room, call that person up 2 minutes before they're supposed to be there and have them waiting on the side. So it's a really quick transition. All right, the next one, person to video, person to video. Now, here's how a person to video transition can be awkward. Number one, it can be awkward is if you're the person on stage and you're mid-sentence and a video starts to play, right? Well, that can be pretty awkward. I've seen this happen a couple of times. I've had this happen to me a couple of times. And so that can be pretty awkward because that person just either stops mid-sentence or they're trying to talk over the video. Well, number two, the other way that this can be awkward is if the video is delayed in playing, right? If you're like, and check out this video, and then nothing happens, and you're sitting there waiting, that can be pretty awkward. And so I kind of feel the awkward tension in my bones right now. Drop in chat if you could feel that right there also. So here's how you can fix this. This is a principle that at Elevate we call the Goldilocks cue. Now, a cue is when you're producing an event, you're queuing up something, which means you're saying, hey, it's time to do this. Well, the Goldilocks, if you remember the story of Goldilocks, I was actually just talking about this with my daughter. If you remember the story of Goldilocks, the porridge was not too hot, it was not too cold, it was just right, right? Well, the Goldilocks cue is when a cue, like the video playing, the cue of the video playing, when it plays not too early, not too late, so it's not delayed, but it's just right. Now, that is how you can fix the video being early or the video being late. Now, the next one, the next way that the person to video can be awkward is if the video has to load and it's not embedded somewhere. Now, I've got a video later on here that I'm just going to show you. It's from an event that I did down in South Florida. Well, I don't have that like in the cloud somewhere. I don't have that on YouTube. I don't have to click anywhere besides I just tap on a button like I'm doing on my computer and it's going to play. So it can be awkward if you are at an event and someone says, check out this video. And then you see this little mouse scroll across the screen, like the little arrow from the computer mouse. They have to click on it. And then you get that like that spinning wheel of death kind of thing. Well, that can be pretty awkward at your event. So here's how to fix it. It's really simple. You download the video. And underneath the two words that I have, download it, is a website that you can go to. It's a cool tool that I've discovered recently called Veed.io. At Veed, it helps you. You can get a YouTube link. Let's say, for example, it's a video on YouTube that you want to play. You can get that YouTube link, put it in there. You can get it to the exact time that you need, and then you will export it or download it to your computer. Now, this last one for person to video is what happens if you're on stage, you're like, check out this video. And again, it just doesn't play. That can be awkward. Even if you download it, even if you have amazing internet, hey, there's ways to get around it. But here's how to fix this is test, and then retest again. So test, and retest. So going back to Video World at the event that I showed you, y'all, we were in this arena the day before and we watched the videos. Each video played probably 3 or 4 times. And then the next day before the event started, we went through them again because sometimes when you power down equipment, it just all needs a reset and it's a little bit wonky when you come back up. That's a technical term. Just kidding. It's not really. All right. The next one, video to person. Now, video to person, this one can be awkward is if the video ends and the person is not ready to go on stage. Or it can also be awkward if the video ends and the person who's on stage also, they don't talk about the video, they don't mention the video, they don't really acknowledge the video. And so here's how you can fix these. Number one is, this is another principle for you called the 60-30-10 principle. Now, what this means is behind the scenes at an event, if you're behind the scenes and you're waiting to go on stage after this video, I'm going to move my face so that you can see the principle there. But have someone behind the scenes. This is a guy named Colton. He is amazing at what he does. And we had people behind the scenes that would tell us when the video had 60 seconds left, 30 seconds left, and then 10 seconds left. And at about the 10-second mark is when we would send someone out on the stage. So it would be dark and everyone's eyes in the audience would be up on the screen. They'd be watching the video. Well, then when the video ends, the person's on stage and they are immediately ready to go. Now, the second way that video to person can be awkward is if you don't, again, going back to what I said, where someone doesn't acknowledge the video, well, that's awkward. And so, what you do is if you don't know what to talk about in the video, it's really simple. You watch the video. And so, like weeks beforehand, almost as soon as a video comes in, you need to watch the video so that you know what to talk about, especially if you're going to be the person that you're not necessarily maybe the keynote speaker. If you're a keynote speaker, you probably know what's in the video. I hope you do. If you're not the keynote speaker and you're coming up after the video or to introduce someone or something like that, then you need to know what's in the video so that you can acknowledge it. And so this is something that we do a lot. And so, of course, watch all videos beforehand. Now, let's go to the next one, which is person to activity. Person to activity. The ways that a person to activity transition can be awkward is if the person doesn't know what's coming, right? If you're on stage and you're like, all right, guys, we're going to go do an activity. And I don't really know what we're doing, but let's go outside and go find out together, right? That can be pretty awkward. Well, another way that it can be awkward is if the activity isn't ready. Guys, I was at an event. That's actually the video that's coming up right here. So I've got a video for you. There's no audio for it. I'm going to talk through it while it's playing. But this is a 5K in South Florida, and I'm the one filming. This is while the mayor of West Palm Beach is speaking. And so at this 5K, they said, hey, we've got about 10 minutes until the race is going to start. So Sean, as the MC, we need you to send everybody to the start and finish line, right? So great. That's a great transition. I can handle that. Well, here's what happened is they really weren't ready because I sent everybody to the start finish line. We had a couple hundred runners. It was a little bit drizzly, threatening to rain. And y'all, I kid you not, we were at the start finish line for 1 hour. Let me say that again. We were at the start finish line for 1 hour. Can you feel that? So as the MC, number one, I kind of felt like I was put on the spot a little bit because I was like, well, I'm sorry, you guys, there's nothing I can do. It's just not ready to run. What was happening is with the 5K, they were still setting up the course of the 5K. So you really need to think through, well, how can we avoid that? I'm going to explain that in just a second. So the last way that this can be awkward is if instructions aren't clear for the activity. Imagine having an activity where you go out and you're like, yeah, we're going to go out and do this thing. It's great. And then you go out and there's thousands of questions. Well, that can be a little bit awkward and it can make it kind of painful. So those are the three ways in which they can be awkward. And now I'm going to explain, well, what are some things that we can do in order to fix it? Well, the one thing that you can do to fix this transition from person to activity is you can equip the MC, equip the person that's making announcements with the right information that they need. The second thing that you can do is have a support team ready. So this is a picture from the event. Again, going back to this one, this is our support team. They had music on. They were talking through the logistics of what was about to happen and what is happening, and they were getting ready for this event. So you need to think through, well, hey, let's have a support team ready. And then here's something that I came up with that kind of rhymes so that you can remember this one, is for the instructions specifically. If you're trying to make something really simple and really clear for an activity, you're like, all right, we're going to go play this game or do this activity. Here's how you can make it smooth and seamless is talk it through with someone new. So I'll say that again, talk it through with someone new. Now, here's what I mean by that. Someone new is someone who doesn't know how to do the activity. So before you go on stage to explain the activity, find someone that doesn't know how to do it and talk it through with them and say, hey, listen to these instructions and let me know if this is clear enough, if people in the room will understand how to do this. And then explain it to them. So talk it through with someone new. So that's from person to activity. Now, the last one that we have is person to break. Here's how the transition from person to break can be awkward is if the person doesn't know what's coming, if the break or like whatever's happening at the break, like the activity or whatever, or the food isn't ready, or if the instructions again aren't clear. Now this one, there's a lot of these that are pretty similar to the person activity because it's fairly similar. But again, you have to have really clear instructions. You have to make sure that it's ready for them, and you have to make sure that everything is smooth and seamless. So it's pretty much the same principles for how to fix it of, hey, equip the MC with what to say, make sure that you talk it through with someone new, and have a support team ready so that the support team, like there was one event that we did where we had a donut wall. It was super cool. We had this wall and the donuts were hanging on it. Well, if we send them to break and like the donut wall is empty, that's going to be pretty awkward. So make sure you have a support team that's ready to go. Now, I have one final thought for you in this is that I know the last 2 points I talked about equipping the MC, and really that's a great way to smooth out. I've talked about Billy from person to keynote speaker, and the MC is the person who's kind of driving the ship. They are making sure that we are getting from A to B and we're doing it as smooth as possible. Well, at Elevate, one of the things we talk about is how a great MC is like insurance for your event. Because here's the thing is that you could plan all of this out, but if something goes wrong, we were at one event one time and the keynote speaker had a 45-minute segment and finished in 20 minutes. What do you do? What do you do with those extra 25 minutes? Well, a great MC, someone who's able to think on their feet. Well, at this event, we had a great MC. It was Billy, our founder and president. He jumps up on stage and he just says, all right, here's what I want you to do. You're going to spend 20 minutes at your table and you're going to talk through a couple of points that you just heard from our keynote speaker. Ready, go. It was smooth, it was seamless, and it was a lot like having event insurance. Now, the host MC, if you're unfamiliar with this term of MC, it's the master of ceremonies. Really, it's anyone who's leading the event experience, someone who's introducing the next keynote speaker, making sure that you're on time, sending it to video. And so the question arises, well, why would you need an MC? Why would you need one? Well, here's why you would need one. So here's a box that represents an event planner. This event planner is planning the event and is gathering information from all over the place, from the organization who's putting on the event, from maybe their client who hired them to help make sure it's smooth, from vendors, from the venue, from their boss, right? So they're gathering information from all kinds of places. And then what they're doing is they're giving that information to the event staff and the MC host. Well, and then during the event, how does that information get to your audience? There's really only one way, unless you're just sending out text messages during the event. So I guess maybe there's a different way that you could do it. But the MC host, the person who's on the microphone telling people what to go, where to sit, what to do, that's where that's going. So look at these little arrows, right? These represent the information being distilled from the event planner to the audience. And then what happens if one of these arrows go wrong? So that one that the arrow is now red that goes to the MC host. If that information is wrong, it's going to make the information to your audience wrong. So the reason why you need a great MC is to be able to listen and understand what the event planner is trying to say, and then relay that information to your event audience. So then the next question is, well, who should the MC be? Well, the MC, you can find someone who's maybe a Jimmy Fallon personality or a Ryan Seacrest. Jimmy Fallon is more like comical and fun and relates to the audience. Ryan Seacrest might be a little bit more polished, might be a little bit more on script. Steve Harvey is going to be a little bit comical and a little bit fun. Justin Timberlake is a little bit entertaining, right? So who should your MC be is to think through, well, what type of personality do we want on stage at our event? And then the next question is, well, where can I find one, right? You can find one internally for your event, either someone who's in the C-suite, like the CEO, a vice president of marketing, or a sales professional, someone who's outgoing and people love and they want to see on stage. The trick with that is a pro is that people know them. A con is that, well, if it's the CEO wants to be in the audience, like meeting with the customers or meeting with the employees, right? And so if you go externally, look for experience, ask for recommendations, and you can search through Google or you can search for different people. And we know this because we at Elevate, we provide people, we provide MCs. I mentioned that I'm an MC. Billy is an MC. Allison from our team, who's in the Zoom chat right now, she was on the microphone this past week. We've got a ton of different people on at Elevate that we can supply as the MC. And of course, there's pros and cons for each, right? If you're going externally, you're wondering, well, is this person talented enough? Can they relate to our brand? Can they relate to our audience? Here's a picture on stage. This is an event that I got to do with a gentleman by the name of Aaron. It was a men's event, a men's conference. And so on stage, we were in the room and we were Zooming. That was literally like a Zoom. And we had some people that were as far away as the islands in the Caribbean, and then some people that were just nearby in different locations in Atlanta. Well, the MC of the event, I got to help MC it, but I got to co-MC with Aaron, who was on staff with this men's group, basically. He was the leader and the facilitator. And so he was part keynote speaker, part MC, and then I was on stage to help make it go smoothly. So when you think through it, it doesn't have to be just one person. It can be multiple people. Well, now the last thing I want to do is equip you, if you're going to hire an MC, to make sure your event transitions are smooth. And I'm checking my time. We're doing great on time. To make sure your event transition are smooth is we have a 5-step process so that you can equip someone and prepare them to be an effective MC host at your next event. Now, here's the thing, is that when you do this at an event, you need to think through the person's personality. And we are friends with a group. There's a gentleman by the name of Randy and another gentleman who have written a book called Chess, Not Checkers. And so when you think through the event and you think through who's going to be on stage, we want you to think about playing chess and not checkers. Checkers, if you know the difference between the two, checker pieces, they all move in the same way. Well, chess pieces don't. They all move a little bit differently. And so each person each MC, each personality, or gather the information. If you're the event creator, you're creating the information that is needed. I'm getting the internet connection unstable, so someone let me know if I'm cutting out. But you need to create and gather the information. The second thing you need to do is to filter and then refine the information. So take that information and put together a schedule and put together the details that that person needs as the MC. Then once you have all of that collected, you need to prepare and equip the person as the MC. That could be yourself. Maybe you're the event planner and the MC. Maybe you're hiring someone like us to come in and help be the MC. Maybe you're hiring someone like us to help plan and give the MC, but this process still needs to be followed. And then the very last the very last two is you need to confirm and adjust as needed. And then you need to debrief and recap. So confirming and adjusting is basically like if you have a meeting 2 weeks before the event and you say, hey, here's all the information that you need. And then 2 weeks later, chances are something's changing, right? Can I get an amen from anyone on this watching this live? Well, you need to then confirm and adjust as needed right before the event happens because something's going to change. And then after the event, what's really helpful is to debrief and recap. Ask us, talk about what went well or what can be improved. Well, you guys, we've covered a lot today. And now we've got a space for questions. So here's my question to you. Is there something that I shared with you here today that was helpful? Or is there a question that you have about a principle? Maybe it's the 60-30-10 principle or the Goldilocks principle or something like that. But I'm going to turn on a little bit of music and just kind of wait here with you guys for a minute to see if there's any questions from the audience. Thoughts, questions, what was helpful, what was not? Again, feel free to unmute yourself. All right, we got our first question in, and I apologize. You can correct me. Please correct me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Is it Pia? It says, any tips on bringing the audience back from a break or activity? That is an amazing question, and yes. So if you've been to a conference, I've seen this a couple of times. I said it correctly. Awesome. So Pia. So now, if you've ever been to a conference, a lot of times people are walking through, and I've heard like the chimes going off. Sometimes conferences will provide like a chime. Well, they might not know what that chime means. So if you think back to when I was talking about the person to break, if you give clear instructions that say, hey, we're about to go to a 15-minute break. We've got some food right outside these doors. Restrooms are right down this hall. And then when you hear this chime, and it would be amazing if you had it on stage and you hit the little chime thing, like the little cowbell or whatever that is. When you hear this, it means it's time to come back in. That's your 2-minute warning. So you could do it that way. Or you could take the 60-30-10 principle, and I would maybe recommend doubling that. So maybe it's the 120 and then 60 and then 20, and basically applying that to your break where you're giving a 2-minute warning. So the 120 would be 2 minutes, so 120 seconds. So give a 2-minute warning. You could even give a 5-minute warning. But what we like to do is, going back, let me see if I can pull up a picture from that event. So this conference, myself and Allison were just at this last week. And so this is a conference, we were in the Alabama area. And so this is the main ballroom area. And so I got to literally do this. I got to send people on break. Well, what you don't see is right outside of this, myself and Allison, we brought a sound system. It was pretty simple. We brought a music device, 2 speakers and a microphone, and we set it up in the break area. It was right outside of the main ballroom. And what I would do is I would bounce between rooms, and in the room, because there were some people in there, I would say 2-minute warning, 2-minute warning. Hey, we're getting started in 2 minutes. I hope that you're enjoying your break, something like that. And then I would literally step outside and I'd have the different microphone, and on that sound system, I'd say, hey, 2-minute warning, everyone. We're going to get started right on time. So 2-minute warning. And that really allowed us to move smoothly. I mean, we probably had 95% of the room. There's of course going to be stragglers coming in, but we found that a sound system and really clear instructions are really, really helpful for this. And Pia, let me know in the chat if that was helpful for you. Next question that's coming in from, again, please correct me if I'm mispronouncing it. It's Bez. What are your thoughts of having a monitor in the room that displays real-time tweets and event hashtag? Is that a good idea or not? I said it correctly. Awesome, Bez. I would love to hear other people's thoughts. Feel free to chime in, anyone else that's watching. I think it's a really cool interactive, especially if you really want social media to blow up. I think that that's a really cool thing. I might schedule that into the agenda run a show so that it's not just up and distracting. Now, if you're doing something, I've seen this done like at a football game. They put it on screen, but at the breaks, basically. They don't want people paying attention to it too much while the game is happening. While the game's happening, they're showing replays, or they're showing the score, or they're showing different things. And so I would think through like a sporting event, like when would a sporting event put something like that on screen? Well, they're going to do that during certain breaks and certain moments, and they might even draw your attention to it. So if it were me planning the event and we had something like that, I would 100% put it on the screen, but I would script it maybe like coming out of a break or maybe going into a break or something. Hey, that was like, or right after a keynote speaker, that would be a great time to do it. Hey, going back to the Josh example, Josh said this. That's something that I wrote down. And we had a couple of people on Twitter that tweeted it and used the hashtag, and then they show it on the screen, and then that will promote more people to doing it, because then more people might want to want to tweet it out. Because at Elevate, we like to talk about this principle that what's celebrated gets reproduced. I'll say that again. What's celebrated gets reproduced. So if you celebrate people tweeting about something, then more people are probably going to do it. If you celebrate people being in the room early, more people are probably going to be like, you could celebrate them by giving a gift card. Hey, the first person back in their seat from break gets this $25 gift card. Here we go. And then we've got another question in chat, and then I see Tatiana's on screen. Bez, hey, thanks for the compliment. I see that in chat. Bez said, I like your approach. Thanks. I appreciate that. So the next question that came in, and then Tatiana, I'll go to you, is what is your best get energized game or activity to start with to wake people up as an MC? Anna, and again, please tell me if I'm mispronouncing it. It's either Anna or Anna. I'm going to go with Anna. So Anna, I love this question. And that is a really hard one. That's almost like choosing between favorite kids because we've got a lot of them. And so one of the ones, I'll go back to this example. So at this event, right, what happened is to kick off the entire conference, I got to help kick off the event. And part of the homework of everybody in the room was this is a thrift store company. And there was a thrift store 3 miles away from where we were sitting in this ballroom. And so part of the homework of everyone coming in was if they could stop by the thrift store. Well, I did the homework also. And I basically talked about like, hey, these are, and I actually approached a couple people in the thrift store when I stopped by there. And I said, hey, I've got this event coming up and it's happening tomorrow. Can I take a picture with you and ask you a couple questions? It scared a couple of people. There were some people that are like, nope, I'm not taking a picture with you. there was two really nice women who said, yes, I'd be happy to answer a couple questions. And I got to take a picture with them. And so then we have an icebreaker. We have an icebreaker energizer called Greet Like a Stranger and Greet Like a Friend. And so either Allison or Sarah Kate, would you mind grabbing our YouTube link and drop maybe just our YouTube channel and dropping it in the chat? Because Anna, we have an entire playlist just of icebreakers. Actually, at 7 a.m. Eastern time this morning, a brand new one went up. And so Greet Like a Stranger is in that playlist, Greet Like a Stranger, Greet Like a Friend. And so basically what I did is I said, hey, you saw that I took a couple pictures with strangers, and in the room, part of the ethos, part of the feeling that the leadership wanted for this conference was there's some people who had just gotten hired, or they had just, maybe they weren't at the conference from the previous year. And so they really wanted everyone to get to know each other. And so this icebreaker is basically you get everybody to stand up. You say, hey, I'm going to give you 60 seconds to go around the room. I want you to meet as many people as you can, but I want you to treat everyone as a stranger. And I want you to pretend like there's someone really important in the room, and every single person you meet is not that person. So it's going to be kind of an awkward, kind of a handshake, right? And then you say, ready, set, go. We played some music. Allison was there with me and played some music. And then you give them 60 seconds, and then you pause. And then the very next thing that we did is I say, now I want you to greet, I'm going to give you another 60 seconds. And I want you to greet every single person as if they are your long lost best friend and you haven't seen them in 10 years. Ready, set, go. And then you play some upbeat music, and people, the energy in the room just kind of explodes. That's one of my favorites. But again, Anna, we've got an entire playlist on our YouTube channel, which is now in the Zoom chat. And if you're watching the replay, you might be watching this on YouTube. So check out our playlist here. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. So Anna, I hope that's helpful. We've got a ton of them. They're on the YouTube channel. There's the high five challenge. There's really a bunch of different ones, but there's some really fun ones. All right, Tatiana, would you like to be on video? Are you going to unmute yourself, or you want to put it in chat? Welcome. How's it going?
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for today. I'm sure that everyone's getting a lot out of it. I love that greet like a stranger, greet like a friend activity. So thank you for all the great content. My question is this: as an MC or a host for you, and even for Allison, who I know is commenting in the chat, what are some of the top ways that you prepare your own voice? And I know you could do an entire 3 hours just on talking about voice preparation, but not so much the mindset, because I know it's important to get in a positive, healthy mindset and practice and all those things. But logistically, how do you guys make sure that your voices are ready to talk, to host an event?
That is a great question. And I will say that I'm probably the chief sinner of all of this. And so, but here's, if I'm on my A game and I'm really doing my best to prepare this, here's a couple of things that I really focus on. Number one, it's getting enough sleep. I personally, if I don't get enough sleep, then my voice, I can hear it. I get pretty groggy. Number two is drink plenty of water the day before and leading up to the event. And then number three is we have a friend. I've got a guy that used to work with Elevate quite a bit named Jordan. And we learned this because Jordan was a singer. And so if you ever ask musicians what they do to warm up their voice, it's a lot of the same: eat healthy, drink water, plenty of sleep, but then they also do vocal warm-ups. And so I don't know if I want to scare everyone on this, but I will, if I'm on my A game and I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to, I'm warming up my voice by doing these musician vocal warm-ups where I'm starting low and I'm literally like humming and I go, and it's really the most helpful. Am I cutting out? Am I still here? Okay. It's really been the most helpful, especially if I'm going to be on the microphone for 3 or 4 hours straight. There's sometimes where I'm at an event, okay, you lost me for a few seconds. Do you want to chime in, Tatiana, and tell me where I dropped off at?
Yes, I think it was the part where you were about to practice singing with us.
Okay.
No, it was just when you were
Yes.
talking about the vocal warm up part that at least I know I lost you.
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not a musician. I'm not an expert. My sister is actually a speech and language pathologist.
Oh, great.
But if you YouTube, there's some great YouTube videos that you can find for vocal warm ups, and
Hmm.
they'll say, "Hey, say this word, repeat this phrase." Like I know one of them is you say the word la, like you go la 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 la, like you do that and you do it over and over, and you're supposed to time yourself, do it for a certain amount of time. But those are what I do. Is any of that new to you? Do you have any tips for us? And then I have heard also there is drinking a certain type of hot tea is if you have lost your voice that can help you recover faster.
Yes, I've heard similarly of the things that you're sharing. One thing I learned from a vocal actor, voice actor who teaches on the content, I remember she said, you have to, hydration is number one. And
Mhm.
and trying things that work for you specifically, because everyone's a little bit different. But I do remember her teaching me one thing, which was the water intake that we take in today and yesterday is not what is impacting our vocal cords. It's actually the water that we drank 1 or 2 weeks ago. So it's
Oh,
actually about staying hydrated way in advance. And that was her tip. And I teach that to my students because I thought that's pretty unique information. You would think that it's like what I've got going on the past day or two.
yeah.
But yeah, so we have to think about it more long term.
Well, and see, I don't know if you saw my face, but you taught me something because I didn't realize it was from 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah, that impacted me. So thank you for asking me if I had any thoughts, because then that prompted me to share that.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I know that whenever I'm on the road traveling, I'll do my best to go and buy one of the most giant water bottles that I can, like one of those because I usually sometimes I'll bring one, but then like sometimes the airport water doesn't taste the great or the hotel water doesn't great taste the greatest. So I'll usually go and buy like the largest one that I can find, and then I'll usually try to drink at least two of them a day. And Anna's putting in the chat, eat an apple before talking. There's something in the apple that makes the throat moisturized. So, oh yes, and Allison put in the chat throat coat. So throat
Mhm.
coat is the type of tea or brand of tea that is great for recovering with your voice. And that
Absolutely.
prompted me because I needed to take a big sip of water there. So I appreciate that.
You got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, any other questions? Any other questions was great. Yes, and Allison's also putting in chat, tend to avoid like dairy or milk-based drinks and food. Because lactose, I know that like yeah, that can help with clearing up sinuses and different things like that. Well, if there's no other questions, y'all, we can go ahead and wrap up this workshop. But I mentioned at the very beginning that we'd have a couple of offers for you, and I don't want to disappoint. So, number one, the win of today is we hope that this helps you fix awkward transitions at your event. And here's some recommended next steps that we've put together for you if you're watching this live or on the replay. And here's a couple of really simple ones. Is number one is figure out where you are in the process. Are you in the planning process? Are you in the details gathering process? Go back to that 5-step process and figure out where you are. Number two is start with how you work best and also start with how someone else works best because again, going back to the chess, not checkers. And then number three is if you need help, please ask for it. Again, we're going to offer a 30-minute consultation. That's one of the things that we're offering. a 30-minute consultation. We're not going to charge anything, just to people who are here with us today. And if you pre-registered, and then that retails, it's at least $500 worth of value that we're going to give to you. So if you would love to, we're going to send out an email to you, and we're offering this just to you who registered. And so check that out. Show up. There's no strings attached. We're not going to hard sell you anything. We will ask you a ton of questions and then hopefully give you some more detailed tips and tricks. And then we would love to invite you to our Discord community, where we're going to share tips, tricks, games, and best practices so that you can connect with other like-minded people who want to elevate your events, brands, and your businesses. And I'm actually going to invite that to you right now. Here's what Discord looks like. If you're unfamiliar with Discord, it is a tool that you can use to connect with people. And so it's a lot like Slack. It is a little bit more customized. And so we have an Elevate Slack, an Elevate Discord. And this is a screen grab from a few minutes, or not a few minutes ago, but from this morning, of the Elevate Discord. And so in the Elevate Discord, we'd love to invite you. And so if you're watching this right now, you can either scan this QR code, or you can go to this link, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat right here also. So if you scan that with your phone, it's going to take you to the Discord, where you might be asked to either download it, or then, by the way, you can do this on your phone, you can do this on your iPad, you can do this on your computer. And so let me grab that link right here, and I'll put that up for you guys. But the Discord community is great. You'll see myself and Billy are pretty active in it, as is the rest of the Elevate team. And again, it's there for you to connect with other like-minded people. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's not just the Elevate show in there. This is designed to be a place where you can ask questions and other people can give information. And here's the really cool thing, is that just like Tatiana just taught me something, we're excited to learn from you guys. So if you're experts in your field, come in and just be helpful, answer questions, ask questions, and it's there as a tool and a resource for you. Now, again, this was how to fix awkward event transitions. We hope that you can now prepare someone to be an amazing MC at your event, and that you feel equipped to make sure that those transitions run smoothly. Y'all, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you in Discord. We'll see you on YouTube. We'll see you on social media, and we'll see you later. Thanks, everyone.